I'm with Students for Reproductive Rights at UBC. It's one of the student clubs there. And last week, on Thursday and Friday, Thursday being International Women's Day, the Students for Life, the pro-life club Lifeline, brought this display to our campus. And so this display is the Genocide Awareness Project, and it's held, Lifeline, the student club Lifeline books the space, but the images are owned by a group called the Canadian Centre for Bioethical Reform. That's run by, I'm not sure of all of the executives, but Stephanie Gray and Jojo Ruba, two of them for sure. Stephanie Gray is a former UBC student who was a former president of the Lifeline Club. And when she graduated, she was, we were speaking of American tactics coming up to Canada. Stephanie Gray, after she graduated, went to the States and was trained by the Center for Bioethical Reform there on how to promote the pro-life cause in this manner, and then came back to Canada to form the founded the Canadian branch, so the Canadian Center for Bioethical Reform. Yeah, so this is the presentation. Can't see all of these very clearly, but the basic idea is that they set up these displays where on the one side you'll have these kind of graphic images of genocide victims, and then those are juxtaposed with these questionable images of aborted fetuses, as we were discussing earlier before the talk started. And so you can't see them very clearly, but for example, you have butchered children, and then here you have in Rwanda, so there's a picture of a child there who has been hacked apart by a machete, and then the fetus. There's Cambodian killing fields next to that, with a little fetus being held in the hand. For any students that might be kind of drawn in by the idea of animal rights, they've started comparing abortion to animal testing. And yeah, that's, so this is Stephanie Gray. They set up their display, and then interestingly enough, they set up a microphone for students walking by they could voice what they thought of the display and ask questions, and so she would answer some of those for them. Here's up close of one of the displays. So we have the Empire of Japan killing 2,400 people in Pearl Harbor. We have Al-Qaeda and the Taliban killing 2,900 people on September 11th. And then it was raining that day, so the camera got a bit blurry. Then you have Planned Parenthood killing 110,000 fetuses every year. That's the general line. Oh, yeah, this was one of my favorite things. Things you can do with an unplanned baby. You can parent the child, and in that case, they give you a helpful number for crisis pregnancy centers. You can place for adoption. So they give you the number of the Adoption Council of Canada. Or you can pitch in the trash, in which case they give you the number for Planned Parenthood to butcher your baby. Yeah, and also what was interesting to me here is that here they did list the Adoption Council of Canada, but for example, the number for Planned Parenthood there is the American number. There is no Planned Parenthood in Canada anymore. It's called Options for Sexual Health now. And yeah, you could really see the American influence. They had also advertisements for crisis pregnancy centers, which were for the American hotlines. So they hadn't actually bothered to change their material to be relevant to Canada, in case any women actually were looking for help. So my group organized a protest. We have for the past 3 years now, and these are some of the images of our group. You there? Oh yes, there's Amanda holding a Trust Women sign. we put together our own kind of signs. A lot of people brought their own. And I think overwhelmingly, students from UBC walking by were horrified by the display that Lifeline was putting on, and were very supportive of us. And so yeah, just a few of the signs that we saw there. And yeah, the crowd got very large throughout the day, especially once the microphones came out. This is one of our members, Jaden, your groceries off my ovaries. Although they do, I think, the Center for Bioethical Reform, a lot of the individual members I was talking to were religious, but they were trying to be very clear that they're a secular cause, that they're not opposing abortion from a religious perspective. This was one of my favorite signs that, I don't know who brought that, but it's my egg and I'll scramble it if I want to. So there were some humorous signs that we got there. This was from the discussion, so Stephanie Gray is on her side with the signs, and then students on the other side were able to ask her questions. Yeah, so just more kind of signs that we, yeah, talking we have a uterus. And there was from the Women's Center, the woman in a vagina suit giving out free hugs. Yeah, actually I lied. The egg scrambling wasn't my favorite picture. This one definitely is. Greg Cunningham is the director in the American group, the Center for Bioethical Reform. And so one woman brought this sign saying that if she wanted Center for Bioethical Reform in her uterus, she would have fucked that director. Yeah, we're at the beginning now. Yeah. And so, yeah, our basic purpose there, we wanted to correct a lot of misinformation that this display puts out. During the question period, the abortion and cancer link came up, and it was astounding to me. I mean, the student who was asking about it had pointed out all these organizations, the National Cancer Institute, the Canadian Cancer Organization, lots of different groups that have denied any link between abortion and breast cancer. But the director of this group deemed herself a better expert on medical issues and was very insistent that it does cause breast cancer. Yeah, and so we also, we wanted to turn this into a kind of positive experience for students who did support women's access to abortion and wanted to help. So we set up a donation box for a charity called the Norma Scarborough Abortion Fund, and they're a charity. They're part of the Canadians for Choice. They assist, as we were talking about earlier, some women living in rural areas can have a bit of difficulty accessing abortion services in Canada. So this charity, they help out women with costs of travel, hotel accommodations, if they need to come into urban centers. That was our day.